Alright guys, let's see if the audio, alright guys, let's see if the audio, alright guys, let's see if the audio, maybe there's an echo, alright guys, let's see if the audio, maybe there's an echo, alright guys, let's see if the audio, maybe there's an echo, alright guys, let's see if the audio, maybe there's an echo. Did they fix it? Yes. Okay. First live in this new dungeon, so expect some technical issues. Give me okay if the audio is fine, so we can start pushing the beast. 1 is already here, 2 is here. Write in the chat if everything is working, if there's delay in my voice between my movements, so I can fix it. Chat, let me know if everything is okay. I'm good. I'm always late, yeah, I'm like Gandalf. I'm right when I need to be. Gucci. All good, okay. So, plan for tonight. We have the 5950X here in the board working. I have the 5600X, 5800X. So I'm going to try all the three. And if you have time, I have the single stage phase change, so we can go to -50 and do some things. I have LN2, but prepping the board for LN2 is a bit of a mess right now, and we have 3 CPU to test. Probably tomorrow we do LN2, or I don't know, Sunday or next week. So I'm going to push every CPU you see here. I'm going to push it to the limit. So, well, full pot and everything. So this week will going to be very interesting. And in the meantime, I'm going to do some review, memory scaling, OC guide and everything. So don't worry, I will cover everything, World of Warcraft, everything. Thanks, Stig. Really appreciate it. So, okay. Yeah, first we do the first contact and we try everything. Then, if we have time, why not? It's already prepared for the phase change, so it's like 5 minutes and we can play World of Warcraft at 5.5, I don't know. Let's start for the basic stuff first, and then we move forward if we have time. If I not dropped dead for the sleep, but anyway. Okay, World of Warcraft. Yes, let's start with some action. Okay, I have the Crosshair 8, latest official BIOS, but it seems that this BIOS, sorry, doesn't allow me to go above 1905 FCLK. So probably with the new release of the BIOS, I can go like 4000 megahertz RAM and everything. So today I'm going to stick with a basic profile. Maybe I try to load something in the motherboard that usually is fine. It's better than XMP. Or today we can test at XMP. That is pretty good already. I've already tested. Yeah, FCLK is broken, but anyway, I didn't try AIDA yet. So, of course, I didn't show you anything so far. Okay, let's try this. So, first thing, let's try a latency check. It's all day that I'm trying to bench this thing, and I didn't try this, the most important part of this new CPU, because, well, this is 2 CCD, but it seems that the latency is lower than Zen 2. We'll see. So yes, landed. I'm very good. I'm good to be back. I was missing this action, honestly. So yes, there should be a new Agesa, but I think we are going to wait a lot of BIOS revision to be able to see a stable version with everything working as always, because everybody messed up the first 1 or 2 release. Okay, so we have a CPU clock of 4.9 as expected. I saw even 5 gigahertz running World of Warcraft. The bad thing that I cannot show you on screen when I'm playing the effective core clock, since I think we need to wait a release of Afterburner, and maybe I can try to do with hardware info, but well, I didn't have time to prepare, so I test only briefly this CPU and then I'm going to test the other 2. Yes, I'm using the Team Extreme. It's a nice kit, actually. It's a very nice kit. This one. It's a bit expensive. I think it's like 160 euro, something like that. But anyway, it's a nice kit. It's BDI. I think I tried on Intel and was able to reach 4.6 GHz C17, something like this. It's a nice kit. It's well built. Okay, we have 59 nanoseconds. So, well, as expected, dual CCD. Probably when we test the other two, the latency is going to be lower and probably even more performance. So I'm very curious to try the 56 because I think it's a good CPU for price performance. So you have the Zen3 but cheaper. And honestly, if you have like 12 strong threads in gaming, it probably should be more than enough, even if you have a nice a high refresh rate monitor. So something that I didn't do is updating the chipset driver. So probably it's a good thing to update this first. I hate this website. One thing that I want to try is the Crosshair 8 Dark. Probably is going to be on sale next month. And apparently the first test that I saw is that they can do 2000 Infinity Fabric clock. So I'm really curious to test that. So what now? Okay. They try to hit that sneaky bastard. Yes, a CPU driver is usually very important, and it can change as well the thread allocation. So in game like World of Warcraft, that there's a lot of thread roaming, it can cause additional latency. But well, I tested World of Warcraft before, and wow, this thing is really powerful. Okay, let's install everything. Latency is okay. I really want to try the small CHU, since this is more like traditional style CHU CCD. The other CHU are like the Ryzen 3300X. That is a small beast. Plus, well, the APC improvement and everything. So I think that for World of Warcraft probably is going to be better the small one. Even this is a big improvement, probably because the extra cache and all the other improvement that they did was a very nice thing. Even for World of Warcraft, that is usually related to memory and latency. But I think this time, with this massive amount of cache, it helps also games like World of Warcraft. I was a bit skeptical about that, since World of Warcraft is tough. And probably, I don't know if we can beat, I mean, in RAID and something that is very stressful, the Intels. But well, in the next days, I try to do at least some preliminary benchmark to see the impact. Then I'm going to refine the benchmark with RAIDs and everything. So I'm going to try to do a bit of the big part now this week, and then I will do something more in detail. RAM overclocking, test with power consumption. Let's see if it's true that the downvolting is not useful. I'm going to try everything as always, so don't worry, I will be uncovering everything that we need to know. Okay, 49 nanoseconds. Yeah, probably, well, I'm using XMP profile now. 3600 MHz C14. But it's the secondary timing that gives the boost. Probably with this one, yes, we can go close to 50. But now I cannot do a session of memory tuning right now, since when I tune the memory usually it takes at least 2 or 3 hours. Plus the testing, I need to be sure that every settings I do is rock solid stable for the benchmark, so Tonight is just about getting to know the new CPU, and then I will prepare something more, more well made. Okay, chipset are fine. Okay, let's see a bit what is doing in idle, this monster. I think you can see it. I think I'm in 4K. Probably is better if I lower the resolution a bit. Yeah. Okay, so probably now is a bit better for your eyes. Let's do like this. So the idle is fine. See here, we had a core that 2 core at 5 GHz. So the XFR works, since the temperature should be nice, since we have a good cooler there. We are now at we're at 36 degrees, 40 degrees, so it's okay that XFR gives like 100 MHz boost, sometimes 150 MHz boost, so everything is working as it's supposed to be. You know, if you recall that with Zen2 at the end, at the beginning, the advertised boost wasn't that, was like way lower. Well, first it was, and then they fixed something with the BIOS release, and they crippled a bit the boost, and then they put it back. So I'm not using the beta BIOS. I'm using the latest official BIOS. So it is the 2311. The 24 is a beta, and usually when ASUS releases a beta, is a mess, especially for extreme overclocking, since there's a lot of bugs. And I'm going to try this first, and if I'm not satisfied, I'm going to try the beta. But probably, if I try the beta, I already know that I have to roll back. Last year was terrible. Okay, so everything is set. I'm going to show you a bit how World of Warcraft is doing with this. Let's try to do some graph run, at least to see the difference between the 3 CPU. Let's see if the more cache in this big one helps or not, or is better to have one CCD. Give me a minute, I'm configuring World of Warcraft. Okay, I don't know if the sound of World of Warcraft is going to be bad. So the problem with this CPU is that I have a lot of threads, and it's not easy to make it. Oh, I hope that you can see it, since really we have a lot of threads. Too much. Okay, maybe like this. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, and now the resolution is a bit super bad. So Full HD, no scaling at all. Everything is at maximum. The ray traced is like is a bummer, since it doesn't really work well. Okay, we have 200 FPS, 250. It's a lot. So look at the 1% lows. I'm running the memory, let's say at XMP, so stock. What do you think about that? 1080p, 2080 Ti is a lot. So now I'm going to do a graph run, and then maybe we try to tweak a bit the memory, and we see if we have scaling. Then I also going to do some manual overclocking, just to see. The pity is that I don't have the effective frequency, and if I try to use other info, it's going to go down, so there's too many threads. But see, we are roaming around the 46, 47, maybe for a small amount of time, even 5 gigahertz. But it's okay. Probably the next revision of Afterburner, I can put on screen everything. But well, when I see 240 FPS, I think it's more than enough. So yeah, it's overkill. But usually, WoW is one of the few games that I cannot max out the CPU. Look, I'm at 71% here in the CPU usage, 68. So I'm not GPU limited. Anyway, let's try to do, just for reference.
That rules favor, friend. Keep the wind.
So check the 1% low and 1%. So now we are going to fly over Boralus, that is super CPU intensive. So now you see 250, 270. That is much higher than the 900K. I'm going to do a comparison between Intel and Ryzen 3 soon. So at least for the Gryphon run, maybe some dungeon. The ride is going to take some time, since I would like to do the benchmark as well with the highest FCLK I can. But thank you, Glenn. Thanks a lot. Okay, so now we should have a drop. At least Intel here can drop at 130, 140. But I think this big amount, this huge amount of cache is helping a lot. Probably Intel, I think if I'm Intel, I will go to the same way, no? Adding cache, AMD showed that is very helpful. Probably they will do something like this. Maybe they are going to use the mesh technology, adding some cache, who knows. But for sure I think they will keep the competition up. So everything is good for us. So we will have a good CPU at a good price. That is something that is important. So Zen starter, I don't know. I mean, are we going to do the analysis with a tool that measures the frame time? So we will see the starter is like a big drop in the frame time. If it's starter, we will see. In World of Warcraft, since Zen Plus, Zen 2, there's no stutter at all. And before 10th gen Intel, Zen 2 was the best for World of Warcraft because there was no stuttering at all, the frame time was super smooth. And the Intel 9th gen having a lot of, was doing great for the average FPS, higher than AMD, but a low 1% lows. So, and then they changed. With Gen 10, Intel made a nice CPU for World of Warcraft, since the 10th generation Intel was very nice for playing World of Warcraft. But it seems that this one is even better, so we have competition. I mean, Intel in gaming is good. It's always been good. But I think AMD is good too, but I think it was good also for the previous generation, since Ryzen 2 was a nice CPU for gaming. The only issue that I saw was not complete when you game at higher refresh rate. Intel was a step behind, a step ahead, so now they fill the gap. So yeah, the 3900X is a very nice CPU. So I think that the only one that was a bit crippled was Zen 1. Zen 1 in gaming was like meh. Zen Plus, a good improvement. Zen 2, a nice improvement, but a bit bottlenecked when you seek for high frame rates. And now, probably, I think they fixed everything. And Intel now should, move a bit and catch up. Since as you can see here, there's a lot of 1% low. If you have 0.1% low at 110, you can't perceive stuttering. This is a 5950X, so the flagship. it's a nice CPU as you've seen. So I think for gaming it's more than enough overkill. This is a CPU if you are a graphic designer, 3D designer, if you do some calculation, but honestly, okay. Let's try, I don't know, Tomb Raider, just to see. No, I didn't get a review sample, I bought it myself, all three. So tomorrow I'm going to eat water. I'm using, give me a moment that I'm loading Tomb Raider just to see, to launch a couple of benchmarks. I'm curious to see the CPU score. Yes, I can try CSGO. Yeah. Let me check this first, Tomb Raider first. So full screen, preset high. Okay. I'm very curious to see the small one, since this monster was kind of obvious that it was doing good. A lot of cache, a lot of clocks, everything was clear that this is a nice CPU. Okay, so high preset, no DLS, no nothing strange, so default. This is a lot of threads. Everyone, that new Ryzen 5 shattered the games. I mean, shatter the game. Yes, maybe you can shatter a lot of frame rates, but at the end of the day, if you have a CPU that does 200 FPS, another that does 150 FPS, and you have a 144 Hz display, at the end of the day, you didn't see the difference. I mean, what I like to check, if you have stuttering, if you have high 1% lows, if the platform is working nicely, you don't have bugs. That is, I think, the most important for me. That you know, is plug and play. Since I have time to do some, you know, tinkering with things, but probably you at home, you want to make everything that is going to work. You have to, when you want to play, and you don't want issue. So to me, it's more important the, well, maxing out the monitor bottleneck, but after that, the platform. Zen1 had a lot of issue with memories. The other Zen still does. So Zen1 at the beginning was super difficult to make it work and to make it stable. So yeah, I can play definitely 144 FPS. But well, this is an overkill system for Full HD. Since the 2080 Ti, I think, is not a card for 1080p, but at least we can see that the CPU is not bottlenecking the FPS, which is a nice thing. Usually when I benchmark World of Warcraft, I pick the best card to benchmark the CPU, because when I pick the best card, we know that this is the limit. I cannot benchmark all the combinations. Some people tell me, can you benchmark the 5600X and the 5700 XT? Yes, I have it here, the XT, but I cannot do every match. So I'm going to pick the best CPU, the best GPU, and then I test all the CPU. And on the contrary, I pick the best CPU, that is probably this one, and I'm going to test the GPU, and then you can match the two results. So it would be impossible to test the right configuration with every CPU, every GPU combination, all the resolution. It's like I will need like a team of 50 people. So it seems that now we are going a bit below, but this is a benchmark. I think the real gameplay is going to be much better than this. Well, if you have a 3900 XT, I mean, you have a good CPU. When you do the memory tuning the right way, probably yes, maybe you will feel something if you have a high refresh rate display. If you play World of Warcraft, you do ride like Mythic, maybe. but you know, sometimes we have to change component just because we like changing components, and it's fine. Okay, CPU, a lot. Yeah, the score is high. It's very high. Okay. Well, let's try to push a bit the memory to see if we can lower the latency. Since now doing benchmarking, I mean, there's a lot of channel, other unboxed, GN, that did a lot of benchmarking, so I'm not showing anything new. Let's see if I can show you something that is not covered yet, like memory overclocking, well, in short, and latency. Well, no, you tell me in the chat if you want to see something specific. I can run benchmark all night, but probably you have seen like 10 videos already, and I want to show you something different. We can do some manual overclocking to see how far we can go. Maybe with this generation it's useful to do manual overclocking, I don't know. Well, this CPU maxed out at 1900, since probably I'm limited by the BIOS, so I cannot go above 1900 FCLK. That is bad, but probably to raise more I need a new BIOS. So usually when I don't want to spend a lot of, there's no preset. Anyway, okay, let's try to, I hate when I see this thing, because I don't want to set every timings now. What I can do is show you a bit of the CLK. This is the maximum the CPU can go. I tried before, this is the maximum. So what we can do is trying to do some manual overclocking. A drop from 200 FPS to 60? No, I mean, if you maybe you can perceive from 200 to 60, but I don't think if your platform can do 200 that the drop will go down to 60. Probably is it's difficult that something that usually go at 200 it can drop to 60. Okay, this ratio here. Let's see with manual overclocking and a bit of SCK we can gain some performance, but I don't think so. This should work, maybe, but now I don't want to spend too much time on a single CPU. I want to try to test everything to see if there's a big difference between the three. I didn't have time to read the Discord since I was preparing this. I'll give it a check later. I don't know, maybe sometimes I don't trust, I don't know the chart from where it was taken, honestly, and I tend to doubt some results that are not verified, like I don't know, Hard Unboxed, GN, guys like that. Since sometimes if you find something in, you know, benchmark that maybe there's people benchmarking like with a cheap memory, or I don't know, so I tend not to trust everybody. Yes, I think this will be very nice in ride. We have some issue, probably was not a good settings for the memory, and the memory are a bit hot. Quick memory solution. Air. Best thing you can do. If it's too loud, let me know. Okay. See? Some air. Yeah, it is loud. This is the industrial 3000 RPM that I use for extreme overclocking, so it's a lot of fun. Even louder now. Let's see if there's a jumper that allows me to run the fan a bit quieter. No. Well, let's take it. I leave it a bit like this and I turn it off. Yeah. Yeah, this is not normally is quiet, but this specific model is super powerful. Okay, so let me check the AIDA latency. Now I'm maxing out the SCLK, but probably because the BIOS is not allowing me to do better than this. So. Yeah, it's the industrial RPM, so it's the fan that I use with the Ice Dragon to take out the LN2 vapors. So it's pretty tough. Actually, in the Dragon, I have that since 1 year, using extreme overclocking. So going from like negative 100 degrees of the cold vapor to like plus 200, and when I do the blowtorch. So this fan is like indestructible. Yeah, in gaming you don't want this, but when you do extreme overclocking you don't mind. I think there's something wrong. Yeah, the RAM was at stock, so I'm wasting time and we don't have much. $3600 versus $3600X. Honestly, they are both good. The difference is if you tune the memory or not. 200 megahertz doesn't really make that difference. Well, depends. If you pay like $10 more to the X, grab the X. Yes, I can test the small one next. Since I'm very curious myself, since this one is the best one, I'm pretty sure that is going to rock, but I want to check the small one, if it can do good things. Yeah, I really don't want to mess too much with the memory now, since I'm even tired, so I'm going to leave for now the OCP, since usually they have a preset, so I load the preset and I do some adjustment and that's it. But since we don't have it, and I don't want to waste like half an hour testing memories and maybe having the memory unstable and I will have the results that are not correct, I prefer to leave it the OCP and whatever. Next time when we do a live, I will prepare before some memory preset, so I can show you the best memory preset ever, something that with the ballistic, that is a cheap kit but can do great things, so a bit of everything. But now let's give it a first look, and then maybe tomorrow I do a live with a good memory preset and we can do some LN2. Why not? Well, definitely I'm going to do it. So okay, default. Let's try to do some manual overclocking then. Some Cinebench. This seems a good one, since I was almost 4.7 all-core Cinebench. So it makes me think that probably if I don't have cold bug with LN2, I can do a nice core. I don't know if first or not, but let's see. 1.3 volt, 1.45. Okay, I ran a couple of benchmark with manual overclocking, so you can see how far we can go and the temperature. This is important as well. And then I'm going to use the small one. If you go outside 1.1, is a mess. So the only thing to make a Ryzen perform is to go 1.1. Let's say 1600 MHz FCLK, 3200 MHz memory. If you put the memory like at 5 GHz and you have like 1.2 the FCLK, the result will be very bad. On the contrary, if you as well, if you put 1900 MHz the fabric clock and the slow memory, the result will be bad. So there's no way, you have to go 1.1. No, because I tried. I tried. So I used a kit of ballistic with LN2 and I was like more than 5 GHz with the memory, and the fabric clock was like I don't know, 1800, 1900, and the memory was like at 5 GHz. The latency was worse. Maybe not that much with lower memory clock, but the latency was worse. So unless I think if you can clock the memory at 6 GHz or maybe more, if you exit 1.1 is a fail. I don't have Rainbow Six Siege. Sorry. Maybe next time I can download it. So now I'm in manually overclock. I tested this before. Oh well, I forgot one important thing. That is the LLC must be set to 3 with this board. Gear down sometimes give you more latency, sometimes a bit less, sometimes it gives you stability. It depends. Usually I try both and I keep the best. Sometimes without you can even boot. Really depends. So with memory usually you have to try it. You have to try, to check, to benchmark and to see what is best. You want to stream games. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can use the NVENC encoder and you're fine. I mean, I'm using NVENC right now, so I have a second PC. Okay, so I have this one, of course I cannot stream with this. I have a second PC, but the decoder I'm using NVENC. So I'm pretty happy with the NVENC, since I think I'm using like a 1650 not super and it's doing great. Okay, let's try some analog C. Well, I make it quick since I already know that this CPU around 3.2, it can go a 4.6 and a bit above. So one thing that is funny, that is very funny, is to see a Cinebench 15 going so fast. Now you will see. This CPU is a caterpillar, so like it's brutal. Check this. I'm 4.6 GHz, 1.32 volts. Look at how fast it is. It's like, whoa. That's it. I mean, like what? 10 seconds? 7? This thing is brutal. Look at the score. Temp are low. The temp are exactly... Okay, let's check this. So the maximum temp was 79. Yes. Let's try to push a bit. 46.5. MagSafe VCore. Okay, no. Crash. 46. So 46 is with this cooler, because I was trying with the custom loop. With the custom loop I was able to do almost at 4.7, but with a super good custom loop. With this AEO is a bit, well, you're talking about 32 threads, so it's okay. Let's see the temperature. This one, 65, 80, 90, the package. Okay, but we're talking about a monster CPU. The V-Core safe, as I told you, the V-Core safe for the Ryzen 3000 is like well, it should be something like 1.32. But honestly, when you go above 1.25, you have really diminishing return. So if you want to set manual OC, go to 1.25 and then work your frequency for there. But if you push 1.3, 1.32, it may be safe as well, depends on what you do, since it's not the voltage that is unsafe, but it's the current. So if you have like 1.45 and you play World of Warcraft, probably is safer than 1.3 and you do rendering like 24/7. So okay, we saw that okay, so 4.6 is achievable. I don't know if it's FPU stable or whatever. Let's try. Maybe a bit less, like 1.3. So if I had, personally, if I had to keep manual overclocking, but something that I don't need, I will go for 1.25. No more than that, since it's useless. 100 megahertz doesn't change your life. Okay, let's go straight to FPU. So 4.6 all core. Okay, we have a big drop and a crash. See? So it was a bit too much. Over temperature. So yes, this thing is hot, but I mean it's okay. We are talking about 16 cores and 32 threads. Is a lot. Okay, anyway, let's use the small one, since we saw this is a monster. There's nothing else to say. It's going to crash every other CPU, but it was predictable and kind of obvious. What we need to do now is to see if the small one is a good one, because what my doubt is, what if World of Warcraft is doing good because this big one have a lot of cache and the small one with less cache is not doing well, or at least below the Intel? This is the question that at least I have in my mind. I say, do I have to buy a CPU with a big cache to play good World of Warcraft or not? Intel, the 10th generation Intel, I tried almost every CPU. So from the 10100, 10400, 10600, 10700, 10900K. So the 10th generation with a proper memory tuning in World of Warcraft, they are nice. Even if you are on a budget and you buy a 10100 F, if you want, not the normal version, with the Z board and the memory tuned, you have a nice CPU for World of Warcraft. So you can go cheap and still have a nice 1% loss and average that allows you to play with a high refresh rate display. So the Intel 10th generation are amazing CPU. So if you game with an Intel CPU, you can't go wrong, because if you do a proper memory tuning, it's a nice CPU. But maybe this one is better. Why not? But still, that not because we have Zen 3, now the Intel 10th generation are bad. And even if this one is like 10 FPS more, who cares? If I'm going to max out my my monitor frequency, I don't really care about 10 FPS more or less. I care about pricing, stability. If I can actually buy the CPU at launch, that is a big issue. I think we were all scared, like Nvidia, and it seems that a couple of years ago we had the miner for the GPU. Now we have the bot and the scalpers. Is that funny? It's like a war. Okay, so let me show you what I'm doing. Probably the camera is broken again. It is broken, yeah. It's broken. Okay. Now I'm going to read the chat a bit. Let me swap the CPU and I'm going to read the chat in case. So, here we are. The small beast. 5600X. Let me clean this one because every time I didn't clean the CPU with the paste and then it became a mess. And since I have like, I don't know, 30 CPU, and if I have to open every box to find one, it's hard. You can say it's a good problem to have, yes, but it's a problem. No, I'm not Linus, I don't drop things. Maybe. Tap and paste. All right. I'm really curious about this one. Since I like more the small CPU. I mean like more old school overclocking. I say back in the day, the overclocking was to buy a cheap CPU, overclock it like hell, and match the CPU that was like double in price. And at the time, like the Atom XP or that kind of CPU, the difference was really the clock. So when you overclock the CPU, probably you saved a lot of money and the performance was there. Now you can do more overclocking and gain like 5% or nothing. Back in the day, the overclocking was real. It was a real thing. Too much paste. You have to see when I do extreme overclocking. You will kill me. When I do extreme overclocking, that is a lot of paste. But I must. So, but the thermal paste, unless you do like the verge, is never too much. The only risk you have is that you get your motherboard dirty. But I prefer put some more paste and then have to clean it, then going with less paste and have to disassemble everything, check the contact. Not worth it. And since my thermal paste usually lasts 1 hour or 2, since I'm constantly moving CPU, I don't really care. Maybe if I have one day to build a system for me, probably I will apply the thermal paste carefully to the right amount and all that kind of stuff, but for testing it's okay. Yeah, the excess of the thermal paste goes on the side, so the only bad thing you do is dirtying your motherboard. So when you apply the pressure, the excessive thermal paste goes on the side. This is the only downside of putting too much thermal paste. But probably the verge caused a cataclysmic since probably he made a wave of thermal paste. Joking. That poor guy is still having trolls on Twitter. Sometimes I check on his page. Every message he sends, there's people trolling him. I feel bad for him, really. Yeah, let's do some 4080p benchmarks. Yeah, conductive thermal paste is a bad idea to spill that, for sure. But usually Thermal Grizzly, all the good brands are not conductive. If you use liquid metal, yes, but liquid metal, I'm not a big fan of liquid metal. Liquid metal is good if you do like the lid with the older one. Now that the CPU are soldered, deleting is useless and dangerous. So if you're thinking of deleting a CPU, don't do it. Unless it's like an old generation that there was the thermal paste. This fan is absolutely loud. Am I right? Let me turn it down a bit. We're going crazy. Well, this is because I have a bad mount. There's a reason for that. I'm not using the EVGA standard mount because I lost it in the mess here and I have to find it. Plus, if we want to do some cascade, to phase change, I have already the plate there. So let me check it first. This is nice for extreme overclocking, but to do swap like this is a bit of a mess. So. I still have a lot of boxes here, and I'm desperately looking for the back plate of the EVGA AIO, and I cannot find it anywhere. Alright, let's see if we still have the bed mount. Yes, I got lazy applying thermal paste, because when you do a bit like this, it's fine. I have the proof, since when I take out the water block, I see that there's enough paste to do the job. That's it. I think we have a contact problem here. Let me do a reset. Firstly, I can understand why. Because the mount seems nice. I mean, it's mounted correctly, but I think I have an issue with this AO. Sometimes the pipe, when maybe I have to go like this. That was too loud. Okay. Usual issue. If you watch my video, there's no one live without an issue, which can be air cooling, passive cooling, or liquid nitrogen. We have issue to solve. So my live needs to have some issue. I think I never did a live with everything went smooth. Okay, look, see the temperature now? Just doing, I think I have to do refill, maintenance, I don't know, I don't care. Probably there was like air inside, something bad. Okay, back to normal. Yes, now I feel that the cable are pretty hot, so there was an issue I think here, or water inside. So I'm sure it's good to have some fun sometimes. No, jokes aside, I think I have a pipe that is completely hot and one that is completely cold. So there's no good circulation here. I'm trying to fix this issue. It's something that maybe is faulty. Look, now the temperature is spiking. So I have an issue with this area. Clearly is an issue. And of course yesterday was everything perfect and now it's not. Maybe it's the pump. Maybe the pump. some patience, guys, since you know, sometimes things doesn't go exactly as they are supposed to do. I give it like 1 minute and I plug the phase change. So let's see if it can get colder. Yeah, the issue is probably here in the pipes, since one is hot, one is incredibly cold. Let me try to go in Windows, because sometimes I saw that the USB controller is having issue and the pump does not start, or does not start properly. Yes, I have boxes in the background, but you have to see the boxes there on the other side. I have like motherboard from the early 2000. No way. We have an issue. The pump is not doing the job. I give it a couple of minutes, and if I get tired, I go directly with the phase change. But no, you want to see this with normal cooling, so yeah, but it's like, it's a couple of months that sometimes if I place it in a certain position, it doesn't work at all. Then I dismount everything, I check everything is fine, I remount, and it starts working again. So it's playing jokes as well, so it's a bit of a bastard. You want me to lose time, since I have many, I have a lot. A nice giant, yes, that is a great idea. In fact, yeah, I would love to have like a big ice giant here, cooling things. Yes, I will take the phase change if I'm not satisfied with this bastard here. Yes, the contact is nice, the contact is good. So there's no issue here. I can try to check like this, just in case, but I'm pretty sure that is the pump. Or now I hear the pump. Can you hear it? No. I can hear the pump now. I don't think I can get to 2000 MHz FCLK with this BIOS, at least. With the other CPU wasn't possible. Maybe with the small one, yes, because it's single CCD, maybe I can. I'm going to try it, of course, but I'm almost sure that this BIOS doesn't allow me to do it. Yes, of course I want to try max FCLK. I think it's the first thing I'm going to do. When this thing decides to boot, now the CPU is hot, so I have to wait a bit. You know what? I know a way to cool it. I just put some LN2 on it. We'll see. You know that the BIOS for unlocking the FCLK, why not? I mean, in the past we saw that the newer BIOS gave a big improvement in the past generation. So maybe if you are able to unlock the 2000 FCLK with the new one, the AMC is the same. So Robert Hallock on Twitter, I retweeted it, so if you want to check it, states that the IMC is the same. Maybe the silicon quality is a bit better, but the IMC is the same. So probably if they unlock the FCLK on the new one, probably they will do this for the old one. So it's the same IMC, so yeah, you're pretty good at tuning memory. So if they unlock it, you will see your 3600 and you will go like a 55 nanoseconds in latency. Okay, CPU is a bit too hot. Temp pump. You know what I want to do? I'm going to cool the CPU and then I go to mount again this one. Be patient a bit. 5 minutes and we will be up and running, don't worry. I solve issue every day. I'm used to it. I like issues. Solving problems, finding workaround is what I like. The first time I'm trying to pause with the CPU, yes. But everything was okay. The problem was the pump. The DH14 is a nice one. I love Noctua. I really love their product. Silence, powerful, good quality. Okay, so now the issue is that this CPU doesn't want to boot because it's too hot, and I'm going to cool it down with a good method. See the thermal paste? Wasn't too much. Again, I hate this camera. Sorry, but okay. So look at thermal paste. Was okay. So not too much. And here we have thermal paste. Yes, a bit on the side, but who cares? That's why they invented this, to clean the thermal paste. Okay, give me 30 seconds. I need a CPU pot. Okay, when you don't find a CPU pot, the best thing is to use the Gamer Nexus CPU mug and do like this. Okay, so now we have a good cooler. Look, how good. At least to cool it down a bit, and then I go to use the AO again. I'm not trolling. Actually, with this CPU mug, I call it CPU mug, the Gamer Nexus mug, I broke some record. I think I'm still in the first position using this mug. So it's a nice way to use liquid nitrogen. I use it many times. Check my, I think I made a video, 2 videos about that, and I break some record. I'm still in the first position using this one as cooler. I have the new Kingpin pot next week. So I think Monday I will receive the new T-Rex free, revision free, exactly for Ryzen. So next week I'm going to try the new Kingpin CPU pot. Well, let's see if we are cold enough now to boot. Look, it's good. I give it just a warm-up run like this, just to start, you know, the first boot with LN2. Is that poetic? Condensation is a fairy tale. No, condensation is an issue, but if you're going to use it for a couple of minutes, it's not an issue at all. So it's fine. Let's see the temperature. I'm curious if the small cap can still do the job. We're still inside. And honestly, we can also it's not too bad. Zero. So the Ryzen master is at 0, but probably we are at yeah, negative. No, it's too much. Negative 50 or something like that. So nice. Anyway, later for the extreme overclocking. Now all we need was the CPU that was cold. Let me check the latency. Since the RAM now are I think is at default. So I'm going to try the max FCLK, but we need the CPU to warm up a bit. This is definitely too cold. So, yeah. Let's wait a bit. But we went from too cold to too hot to too cold. Now the pump is working, the bastard, you know? Before it wasn't working at all. It's making fun of me, live. I'm going to change it with another AO next time. Okay, we have some degrees. Yes, it's warming up. I just bring the CPU to ambient temp, and then we do the FCLK check. 10 degrees, come on, come on. I feel that it's warmer now. It's going back to the land of the living. I'm calling it with my hands. 80 degree, 20. Good. Let's use the IO again. Yes, a handy cooler. Let's see in chat. Yes, I was doing World of Warcraft benchmark with the big one. And now I'm going to do another World of Warcraft benchmark. Well, first I'm going to check the max FCLK. When we have the max FCLK, the max fabric clock, I'm going to run straight into World of Warcraft. So, and maybe I can show you on Shadowlands, since I have the beta access. I do crazy stuff every day, even if I'm not on camera. Probably crazier when I'm not on camera, so if you see crazy stuff here, it's because, yes, I might know what I'm doing, or maybe not. That's the good thing. Well, I think I play World of Warcraft since the first beta, so a lot of years. Maybe I'm not the best player in the world, but I can do a mythic if I can. No, actually, I have a guild of friends, so we are doing mythic. So I think we did a mythic 9 dungeon, so I'm not that bad. I started overclocking like, I don't know, 20 years ago with a Pentium 2. I was a Celeron. A lot of years ago. Back when the overclocking was a real thing and you have a real game. Not today is like it's more like a sport overclocking, but back in the day the overclock was something that you got like double the performance for free. It was different. Good times. A track of bolt and screws. I have a lot. When I do a studio tour, probably next week or something, you will see all the junk I have here collected over the years. And then I feel sad when I have to trash something, so I have a lot of useless stuff roaming around. Celeron overclock, yes. The Celeron was unbelievably good in overclocking. I'm using the Crosshair 8 Hero. The Strix is nice. All the Strix line are nice. With VRM, usually they are nice, depends. Maybe there are some models that are not nice, but all the Strix that I've tried are nice motherboard with nice VRM. And well, the 5950X is not that power hungry. So when you have a decent VRM section, it's okay. You don't need this board that is, is made for extreme overclocking. So a Strix is more than okay. Okay, just to check the temperature, and then we will check max FCLK, and then we can try to play World of Warcraft. I don't need the noisy fan now. Okay, temperatures are in check. So, well, was the pump making fun of me in front of 100 people? Nice. Okay, everything is fine. Now, I set the RAM, and I try to push the FCLK a bit, but I'm almost sure that the issue is the BIOS. So, the actual BIOS, maybe it was limited from the beginning, because maybe AMD knew that they have to play additional cards. I don't know, I'm just, speculating. I would really love to try 2000, since this CPU, the other CPU was already super nice at 3600 MHz, so... See, that when I do like this, sometimes it doesn't work. I have to do like a savage. That's why you see the meme that I'm doing like this, because sometimes it doesn't go, the bastard. Give me the BIOS. Give me the BIOS. Yes. Okay. Well, first thing when you set the memory, if you're not used to, is first to set the OCP and then do a restart, because sometimes there are some timings that are automatic or hidden, and you need to retrain the memory. Now you see here, I'm training, the memory is training, and sometimes you do small changes, you restart, and some hidden values are changing, so the more restart, the better. Okay, so let's go up a bit. I really want to know if we can go more than this. Let's see if we can achieve the max FCLK frequency, and then we can tweak the timing a bit. But okay, 1900K, 1900, we have it. So good. Let's up a bit. Yeah, the jumpers was super nice. Overclock was all about jumpers, and sometimes the pencil mod or resistor or okay, no, it's a no-go. So 1900 is the maximum with this board and this BIOS. So I'm 100% sure that I'm limited by the BIOS. Probably tomorrow I'm going to try the beta BIOS, but I don't know. So let's put the memory to 1900 FCLK, so 3800 MHz. Maybe I do C14, whatever, and we can try World of Warcraft with this. Well, now I'm going to use the DOCP profile, since before we had like 199 average FPS in World of Warcraft, the Gryphon run. So I'm going to do the same test with the same memory to see what happens. The pencil mode was nice. I have all the Athlons. I actually have a lot of Athlon here. I have like 50, 60 that I was finding one that to make a record, but I think I have a good one, but not like world record level. Okay, so now I have the same settings as before with the 5950X. Okay, I'm going to try like this. So now I'm going to see in World of Warcraft if there's a big difference between the 5600X and the 5950X, which I'm very, very curious. I have waited all day, all those months to see this. If even the smallest Zen3 can do good in World of Warcraft. Base clock, usually base clock is not, well, lately base clock is not good with this platform, since I don't know, the platform is not well made to use that, especially because I think it's worth for some internal clock ratio and timing that goes like nuts. So I won't use base clock. Yes, quick IDA run. Before we had what, 59.9, something like this. So quick IDA run and see World of Warcraft how we can perform. And then while we do the Gryphon run, I read a bit the chat, since I'm a bit behind. Okay, so let me check a bit the chat. Well, I saw that the Crosshair 8 Dark is doing already 2000 FCLK. So I'm pretty sure that is the BIOS version, not physically the motherboard that cannot do that. So maybe tomorrow when I try the beta BIOS, I can manage to have more Infinity Fabric clock. Okay, well, we lost a bit. Okay, we have 400 MHz less. Okay, so a bit less read. Half the write, since we are single CCD. But, well, 60K, 59. Well, nice. I think we have like 0.8 nanosecond less than before, and we have 400 MHz less. So yes, going mono CCD probably is giving some benefit. Yes, the Zen2 was the latency mostly. Since to achieve 59, you have to push the memory to the limit, the frequency as well. So yeah, well, I think if I can tune properly the memory, maybe we can reach 50, 49, 50. Since with Gen 2, tuning the memory was from 70 and something to, I think I went to 60 to 61. So yes, 10 nanoseconds, even more I can gain, I'm sure. So give me a sec that I log into World of Warcraft and we will see now how it goes. But I'm guessing that is going good, since we don't need threads. Why on earth? Oh yes. Another issue, but solved. I have to restart. Just a sec. I have to be careful because sometimes I was drinking from this. So it seems not, but there's a big difference between the two. And I don't want to accidentally drink from liquid nitrogen, so. Not same taste, no. I like cold drinks, but that is a bit too much. Almost there. Sometimes get better formula with a bit turn off. Yes. Hyper trading or SMT usually give better frame rates. Well, with AMD does not impact as much as Intel, but yes, usually you have an positive impact on the FPS. Okay, almost there. Okay, 30 seconds. The game is a bit lazy, but we can do it. It's nice to see only 12 threads, not like 32. Well, I'm in Shadowlands. Then I have to log in again and I can show you the normal one, but at least I can show you some Shadowland thing. 1080p. Everything on ultra. Then I can show you as well the ray tracing, which honestly is not great, a bit useless. Okay. So 120 FPS. And 70. Yes. With the other one in this location, I was more or less the same. So I guess this CPU in World of Warcraft will perform almost the same to the big one. And it's a lot. Let me see if I can give you a better visual of this. Okay, much better. So okay, the GPU is at 50%, expected. We have a core that maybe, well, the thing is that is fine. I mean, I'm looking at the thread roaming. So as you can see now, the thread moves. A couple of years ago there was only one thread and it was the same. Now the thread is roaming around, so maybe it's good to keep the boost algorithm, but well, I don't care. When I see 170 FPS, it's good enough. Well, I'm going to do a full comparison between this and the i7, the i9, the i5. USB issue. Anyway, okay. Well, this is nice. Let's check now. I'm going to load the normal World of Warcraft, so we can repeat the Gryphon run test, and we can see. Well, before was 199 average, and I can't recall exactly the 1% lows, but I think I have on my phone. We can check it. I have some weird USB issue. I don't know what it is. It's not good. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that this small one is going to perform quite well. Safe voltage, I will say 1.25. Well, usually if you have all the Zen, the best thing, in my opinion, is to leave it as stock and focus all your energy tuning the memory, since if you manage, even if you manage to match the turbo boost clock, there's no big gain, since the algorithm is very nice and is useless if you don't tune the memory first. So first tune the memory, then try manual overclocking. If you do manual overclocking, don't go above 1.25, since if you, let's say, you are at 4.6 at 1.25, if you push 1.3, maybe you gain 50 megahertz, 75 at the best, and it's useless. Big gains are on the memory. I will annoy you with how many memory tuning guide I will make. So I will make a memory tuning guide for each CPU twice a week. So you will get plenty of material to learn how to tune the memory. It's easy. It seems difficult because there's a lot of timings, but when you know the tricks, in a couple of hours you will set completely a system. Okay, so okay, let's see if we have the same
Safe passage to you.
same results as before or not.
Your admiral's favor, friend. Keep the wind in your sails.
Okay, let's check this. But I think we will have a very similar result. Maybe we don't need the same result, but probably almost. Now, mem is, I think, is the memory usage. It's not the megahertz. This is the memory usage. This number is, I'm using 2 GB of VRAM, and I'm 1080p, and it's okay. The memory megahertz is this one. Yes. This is the memory clock. I think we have the effective clock here. I can, after this test, since I don't want to disrupt the benchmark, After this test, I'm going to try to use hardware info to see the effective clock. But probably the next release of Afterburner will allow me to put the clock here. Yes, the stream will be there. So every time I do a live stream, YouTube is going to process it, and I keep it there. So tomorrow you can see the replay. Yeah. But then, well, if you want World of Warcraft content in the next days, I'm going to prepare World of Warcraft content. So I want to do, as always, dungeon, raids. Maybe I can try some battleground, since this CPU I think will do the best in the battleground with a lot of people, a lot of spells. Maybe I can try some PvP as well. Yeah, the big battleground. Yeah, it's the BIOS. I'm waiting on a new BIOS for the 2000 clock. Okay, so it seems that, yes, this is a bit slower, but not that much. So I'm going to check my phone, I have the numbers. Okay, so, well, it's not much slow at all. Let me see. So before, okay, 199, and here we have 194, so it's 5 FPS slower. 136, 129, so 7 FPS slower. 110, 105. So we are talking about 5-6 FPS less powerful than the big brothers. So, well, we can safely say that the small one is nice, is a good one, and if it's playing so well in single core games like this, I'm pretty sure that in Tomb Raider or other benchmark it will be very nice if tuned properly with the memory. And now I'm using the OCP profile, so I think we still have like, let's see, let's try to bet. I think when I tune the memory properly, I will gain up to 20%, 15 to 20% improvement. Let's see if I can use the other info to see the effective clock. Because I really want to see in real time the boost, if it's working properly. Because I don't trust much the maximum clock here. I want to see it on screen. Okay. While it was a bit difficult to do that with 32 threads, at least here with 12 is easier. Okay, to raise it a bit. Perfect.
Storm Song will endure. Keep your wits about you.
Okay, let me see the chat. This CPU is currently the 5600X Viper BDI. The bad thing about BDI is that they don't really go well in 4 stick and 32 GB mostly. They are heavy on the IMC. But this is a nice kit. If you need 32 GB, this is the ballistic 32 GB 3600 MHz. This is a very nice kit. I think I found it super cheap, like $90 or something like this for 32 GB 3600 MHz. On Intel I was able to go above 4000, so I'm going to use yes, two 16 GB kit. Let's see, in the meantime, block it again. I have some like poltergeist here tonight. Yeah, this one. So if you can watch the replay, well, I give you the number if you want, the model number. 64 gigabyte. Yes, with I are paying. Okay, let's see here. I don't think this is real, since it's too low. So probably we will have to wait a good version of Afterburner to have the real clock, because I don't think we're only going to 2 gigahertz, so too bad. But I mean, this is nice. And seeing World of Warcraft this fast with a Zen CPU is big. By you see, you mean with this cooler or with the cask, with the phase change? Because here we are bottlenecked by the CPU. Well, if I'm bottlenecked at 200 FPS, is a good bottleneck, but normal cooling, yes. Okay, so okay, I think the number was because I have to, so was like 195, 128, 105. So yes, now I'm going to try to overclock the CPU and do the same test. So, but first, I want to disable this stupid thing that is useless. Only create confusion. So I can put it bigger on the screen. So now I'm going to try to overclock this thing. I really hope to be able to achieve like 4.7 at least for daily. Since the problem with the big CPU like before is the heat generated. If the CPU is too hot, it's not stable, but maybe the silicon can do it. No, okay, too much. Okay, so now you can see perfectly fine. Offset, big thing. Well, I don't like offset to overclock, but let's see. So 4.3. Okay, I think we can risk a bit. 4.6. Everything is fine. The voltage is pretty low, maybe too low. I don't have LLC, so probably the voltage is going up and down. For a manual overclock, is always good to set LLC correctly. In this board is LLC level 3. If you have a crosshair, use LLC level 3 for manual overclocking. So I'm going to push a bit more. Okay. Let's see if we crash or not. Well, maybe it's not stable, but to run World of Warcraft, which is very light, it's probably, well, I'm 4.7 right now. And well, I should test it before doing something like raid or something like this, but Okay, I've lost the mouse. Okay, it's doing good. So I'm 4.8 actually. So this seems a better overclocking than before. Let's try if you can push 5 gigahertz. 48.5. We can do it. We can do it. Well, the temperature is nice, I think. I guess. What is the temperature here? Well, World of Warcraft is very light, so with the Intel 900K, I can run World of Warcraft at 7 gigahertz with liquid nitrogen, of course, but 7 gigahertz. It's good. And I'm still CPU bottlenecked in Boralos. Okay, I'm 5 gigahertz. No, it's real. 5 gigahertz. Not joking. I'm at 5 gigahertz playing World of Warcraft. Finally with the Ryzen. No, I crashed. Okay, so 5 gigahertz is not possible. Yeah, was so close. Probably with a better cooling. So, but I mean, okay, let's say 48. 48 probably is something that is more realistic. And I think this voltage is a bit too much. Thing is, okay, let's do the thing properly. So I'm going to the BIOS. I'm going to set load line calibration to 3 and see with a quick AIDA test if we can sustain 4.8. So just to do a, let's say, a realistic benchmark. Okay, I can run for 3 seconds World of Warcraft at 5 gigahertz. Fine, but it's useless. So 48. Let's see if we can run at this. Okay. Well, 4.8 is a big thing since Zen2, well, except the XT going 4.3, 4.4 was already a nice one. Then came the XT, so 4.6 was the new standard, and now we have 4.8, so it makes sense. Okay, LLC is load line calibration. Load line calibration is a circuit that will help, say, the VRM section of the motherboard to keep your voltage stable. So when you have a load, the VRM section is taxed a bit and the voltage tend to drop. So you set 1.3 in the BIOS, then you load some heavy task and the voltage drops. If the voltage drops, the CPU is unstable. So LLC is compensating that voltage. So if I set 1.3 with the right LLC settings, I'll have 1.3 with load and without the load. So the best way is to find the perfect value. This board is free to keep that voltage stable. So sometimes the stability is not that you need to add the voltage. Sometimes the stability is because the load level is not very nice and the voltage just go up and down, and you have a spike down and the CPU crash. So to get a good stable overclock, find a board that supports LSC and it's working, because some MSI you set everything you want but the voltage goes crazy. Some MSI that's pretty good, like the Tomahawk. The Tomahawk is nice. Some other board not pretty much. So okay, now we are 4.8. We quick run a stress test. First I want to try the memory to see now the latency. So we can see 200 megahertz difference of latency. Yes, I see there's some scaling. So 4.8 versus 4.6, we gained a bit in the read and in the copy, but it sucks at latency. Funny thing. So we have higher latency now. Maybe it's a variance, so but only the World of Warcraft test will tell us if it's a good thing overclock or not. I honestly didn't try any B550. I would like to, but I saw that the price is similar to the X570. I was looking for the Strix X-Force 570 Mini ITX. I would like to build a mini build to put in the living room, but I don't know. I think the best way is to check review like Are They Unboxed. They're pretty good at it. Yes, if you check my Twitter, I have shared a tweet from Robert Hallock that explained like 10 points or 12 points. So it's a good to read. There's a lot of insight about the changes in Zen 3. Okay, time of the truth.
What can I do for you? Smooth sailing.
Let's take a bet. Do you think it's going to be better or worse? I think it's going to be worst. Since I believe that all the Zen architecture have a really nice turbo boost. It's actually, I think the first CPU with the turbo boost is actually working. Now the average was 195. So you have to beat 195 average. The 0.1% low was 105. I can't recall exactly the 1% low. I think it was 126 or something like this, 128. Yeah, it's higher, it's super high. I mean, when I have a constant 150, I'm more than okay. I set G-Sync, the display is a 4K Acer X27P, so it's 4K 1440 Hz. When I set V-Sync and G-Sync on, I'm fine. If I have a CPU then it can do 1000 FPS or only 155, I don't care. Honestly, the max I went was 144. I would like to try high refresh rate display. Well, I already have one, but anyway, super high refresh rate display. I really would love to try that. Yes, I think it's going to be way better. But probably now with this generation, manual overclocking makes sense, since now the frame rate is going to get higher and higher. So we already went over the 5950X, since that was 205 or no 199. So we are now going way much higher than the bigger brother. Maybe finally overclocking have a meaning. It's pretty impressive. So we gain 20 FPS, 10%. So we gain 10% in performance by overclocking. I don't know if it's stable, but let me take a photo. Okay, the big one is still higher with the 1% low. So the big CPU with more cache is a bit better in the 1% lows. And well, but let's say now I have the memory not tuned at all. So let's see when I can tune the memory, and I can run this overclocking. I think we will gain another 10 to 15%, so we probably see like 230 or even more. This is impressive. The taxi test is slash time test. Oh, let me grab it. Time test 1. So slash time test 1. Before taking, see, time text is on, taxi time test is on.
You're a long way
You
from
click
home.
to the Gryphon and then
We
all the
will
way
meet.
down, and then you will have this one. So maximum FPS 316, average 213, so it was similar to the one that I recorded, so it's fine. And the minimum was 86. Here the minimum I think is not the 0.1%, is another, for is a percentile, I don't know. But the minimum FPS you see with integrated test, the integrated test is not reliable. So the average is fine, the maximum probably, the minimum is not reliable. Sometimes you go ups and downs, so don't trust it. Trust the internal test average or an external software. Yes, actually I'm going to try, when I'm going to put the Gryphon back home, I want to try the stress test for Maida to see if we can actually use 4.8 for daily. I mean, stable. So I try first with the CPU test. If it passes, at least a minute, I try the FPU test. If it passes the FPU test, maybe with tweaking some voltages we can do it. We are talking about 6 core, so 6 core is very easy to cool. Because most of the time the instability is not the voltage, the silicon, is the temperature. Usually the overclock is not stable for voltage drop or temperature. Those are the two main things that makes an overclock for the CPU fail. Yes, R20 use AVX, so yes, I will try. Well, I have to try the big one with LN2 to see if I can break some records, at least the Super PI, and I'm going to check the CCD. With my 1350X, I was lucky because I had one CCD that was incredibly good, like 5.8 GHz with LN2. Unfortunately, the second CCD was like 5.4 maximum. So I have one that can reach with liquid nitrogen at almost 6 GHz and the other one at 5.4. So sometimes we have a CCD that really brings down the overall overclocking potential. So well, here we have only one. If you have bad luck, you're done. But anyway, so okay, now we saw that this thing, even the 5600, is super powerful for World of Warcraft and is a nice thing, because I was really curious to know that. Probably tonight I will sleep better than the night before, since I know that even the small 5600X, well, small in core but not in price, since they're still pricey. But I think with a 5600 in a budget build, you will have a good CPU for years, even for productivity, because 12 threads that fast, well, it's a nice. So I'm starting to get a bit tired, so let's start with the CPU test first. So 4.8 GHz, 1.288 volts. So far so good. I think the they are like in line with the Intel, so the Ryzen 5 with the Intel i5, Ryzen 7 with the Intel i7. So, well, I think if I have to choose from the 5800X and the 10700K, I will go definitely with this one, since the 10700K usually is a bad bin and it doesn't really have much overclock potential. I tried 2 and one was okay, the other one was like 5.1 gigahertz but with a lot of volts. So okay, so it seems 4.8 with alone the stress CPU test is fine. So the temperature is pretty low, super low. Why? I mean, they are too low. What's happening here? Did you see the temperature? So the CPU is like 50 degrees. AIDA sometimes get a bit strange, so to do a proper AIDA testing you have to do at least 3 times, just to make sure. Sometimes a process came up and the test will fail, so I usually do like 3 or 4 times AIDA straight away just to see, and then I check the consistency, because sometimes Windows process just bump up and it faults all the tests. It's cold. I mean, we are 4.8 and the voltage is high, because for a Zen3 the voltage is high. Yeah, this is too low, but I mean this is the sensor is correct. So 60 degrees, okay. 60 degrees is nice. Okay, so let's step up the game a bit. Let's do the FPU. That is usually AVX, the strong one. Okay, now we're seeing 80 degrees. That now is okay, but still I'm running FPU at 4.8 gigahertz, 2.72. 82 is fine, since I'm using an AO. No, it's not fine. Oh, the coffin dance. It may be for the temperature, yes, over temperature. Bastard. Did it broke again? So let's try a different approach. Lower the voltage. So probably I can get stable with less voltage. You see, the issue was the temperature, because everything was stable until we went past 83 degrees. So if we can keep the temperature low, probably with these volts and the frequency is stable. Probably it was 83, 83, 80, 80. There was a spike, and the spike triggered the protection. Sometimes we don't see exactly what's going on, but probably it was a spike. The spike triggered the protection, and boom. So what I'm going to do now is to check if you are lucky to do that. Probably I'm going to lower a bit, like this. So I want to check first if we can sustain, because sometimes it's not the CPU, the bottleneck is the cooler. Most of the time, I mean, always. Okay, so let's check the temperature. Okay, this one. So 70 degrees now. 70 degrees is fine. Five gigahertz, I don't know, probably if you have a very good sample and if you have a very good liquid cooling. Since this AO can be similar to some custom loop. So this is AO, is small but is very powerful. But it's probably one of the best that I've tried. So you don't see much of a difference, maybe 50 megahertz. But 5 gigahertz for Ryzen is still a bit of a challenge to run in daily with safe voltage, I mean. But then again, running at 4.8 or 5 gigahertz doesn't really change a lot. We saw, but first if you push the memory, maybe it makes sense, but for 5 FPS when you're already at like 200, it's not worth it. Plus then there's degradation, so too much overclock, you risk to degrade your chip in the long run. Okay, so we are 70 degrees. Fine. Let's step up to... This is the maximum voltage I like to use. Was something similar to a crash. But no. Okay, so 1.25 is my personal preference for Zen 2 and 3 manual overclocking. Since 7 nanometers, 1.25 is okay. Then you start going to diminishing return and you may have issues. So the magical 5 gigahertz, I think we will see that on Zen 4. Yes, the APC is a big role, so frequency is not everything. So, okay, now we have 75. 75 is still okay. Now that you have 75, we start going up. So 4.7. This is a way, then you can do all the way around, but I prefer using this way to overclock. Usually, first I set the voltage. When I see the temperature is fine, then I raise the frequency. Knowing that if I have like 75 at this voltage, at this frequency, if I raise the frequency, the temperature is going to raise a bit. So if you want to find a good method, is set 1.25. Set 1.25, check the temperature with a stress like FPU or Prime 95, something really heavy. And if the temperature is fine for you, leave like 5 degrees for improvement, and then you start raising the frequency. You leave it like half an hour, 1 hour, is okay, good, 25 megahertz more, or 50, and you wait. This is a good method. I'm not the best WoW streamer, especially because I only do benchmarking. I would like to do some like mythic and cool stuff. We'll see. So it seems that 4.7 is stable. Usually when stable, I leave it like 1 hour or 2. So before stating that it's stable, I usually take 2 hours or even more. Sometimes I leave it like overnight before say it's stable. But if it doesn't crash in the first 30 seconds, we have a chance that we can stabilize it. So at least we have temperature is in check. 4.7 is fine. Let's raise a bit. 47.5. If you go, let's say, 25 to 50, you don't have reboots. You just have the test that say, hey, your CPU crashed, and the test stop. So you can adjust without, having to restart your PC. So this test of AIDA is pretty nice for that. The default Oracle boost on 56, 4.6. Yeah, 4.6. So you're already past the boost. Well, you have the boost, then you have the XFR and precision boost. That is not PBO, precision boost overdrive. So if it's like stated 4.6, usually you will see that it goes for 4.7. Like the the 5950 it should be 4.9, but we saw that it went as far as 5 gigahertz with the single core. So yeah, this is a bit more of V drop, but I need at the end 4.750 at 1.22 is pretty nice. So the same 7 nanometers process, but it was refined quite a lot, I can say. No, we are all core. No, in theory 4.6 is the boost, single core boost. Now we are doing all core 4.7.50, and I'm pretty sure that maybe we can do this 4.8. No way, okay, so 4.8 is off limits for daily, because if we increase the voltage we hit the thermal limit. No, again, with the thermal limit again, so hard to say, but 4.8 we saw is challenging. I can try to run it with less voltage, but well, there's only way to find out. But still, if I was able to run it, say 1.2, let's see, let's try with this approach, less temperature, but still 4.7 all core, 1.2 and something, because we saw that was 1.22, is a big win. I mean, you have low temperature, let's say an all core boost of 4.7 is good. I don't know, maybe we can tweak that, but if at default the system reset for temperature, probably is good that way, since the default is the safest way. Maybe sometimes it's a bug, sometimes not. Sometimes was in theory the system doesn't really have to shut down when it reaches over temperature. When you go to thermal throttling, usually a good BIOS will make the system downclock itself to preserve that limit, which in Zen 1, 2 and plus, the limit was 84 to 85, and then it stays like 87, and you see the clock going down to keep the temperature. So here we have something definitely broken on the BIOS. Yes, lowering the SOC helps a lot. So okay, where are we? Okay, so now we are trying to push my luck again with lower voltage. So 1.2, 4.8. What can ever happen? We see. At least we crash again. It's not a bad thing. We are used to, aren't we? Okay, so let's see if you're lucky. No, 4.8 is not good. Okay, fine. So 4.7 I think is the safe zone for this CPU that I'm having here. Maybe you have one that can do 5 gigahertz, or maybe you have one that can do 4.5. So FPU is a test using AVX, so it's a very heavy test. So if you can pass like 2 hours of FPU test, you are rock solid. So you can run any workload with any instruction and your CPU is stable. So, well, R5 run. Okay, let's do have some fun. So, well, I think I have a good sample. I mean, maybe I have the worst 5600 in the world, but if we can do a 4.7 stable, I will be pretty happy. If you were you and you find a CPU like this one, I will be happy, honestly. All right. Let's try 4.7 first, just in case, and a bit of VCore. Since this one is less heavy than the FPU test, well, it's not like the 5950. That was like, phew, that was a bulldozer. Really, that was brutal. When you click run and phew. Yes, I'm going to test the CPU with the MSI B450MA Pro Max. I have the build down there, so yes, I'm going to test it with the cheap B450. I love that card because it's cheap, but it's a super nice with memory, it's stable, the LLC is working, so the VCore is very stable. So look, nice. This is the score that of the this is nice, a nice score. So this score is like the 1900K. Yeah. Yeah, it's 1900K or the 2700X with a 6 core. It's pretty impressive. Let's see once again. Single is going to take ages. Really, I would love to do that, but I don't have much time now since I'm a bit tired, and I still have the other CPU to test. But single, you can find the benchmark in single. I will do the benchmark in single core, so I think we can do it 4.8. Since this is less heavy than the FPU. FPU is super heavy. If you can run FPU, you can run everything. Almost. Okay, 4.8 is a no-go. There's no way on this earth you can run nothing except World of Warcraft at 4.8. Don't be sad. 4.7 for a daily OC with this beast and a proper memory tuning is a monster. It's like a 9900K. It's a monster. I think we can do like a challenge. Who is gonna able to run on air 5600X at 4.8 GHz? Yes, the answer is yes. The new Ryzen's can handle World of Warcraft at more than 144 FPS, quality 10. It can handle even 160, 170 if you have the right CPU, right GPU, sorry. So yes, it's definitely World of Warcraft approved. I will have to try it on RAID, but I'm like 99.9% sure that this in RAID will rock, and it will rock a lot. My VCore here was 1.22, so very safe. Because sometimes people tell me, oh, you're not using safe voltages, because I have my scale of safe voltage that I use is quite extreme. But this time it was truly safe. I always have people mad at me that, no, you're using too much voltage, because I'm used to run crazy voltages. Okay, what do you say? We try the 5800X? This one. Well, we don't need to try that on World of Warcraft, we just do some manual overclocking. Let's see how far we can go. Since we know that if the 5600X is very similar to the big one, this one will be in the middle, so is World of Warcraft approved for sure. And this is a big thing. I mean, the only thing that maybe is not good enough, the CPU, is Super PI 32 megabyte, 32 mega. But if you can run World of Warcraft, I mean, you have my most respectable approval, this CPU. Yes, running 4.7 all core is a big deal. But it's a really a big deal. You have the benefit of the single core boost, but it's an all core boost. So the worst thing about the other Ryzen CPU that you have to choose. Do I leave the default, the CPU at default, and benefit from the single port boost up to X, or do I have to do manual OC? So I will gain more multi-threading performance, but I leave on the table the single core boost. Now it seems that we have to do manual overclocking, since if we can achieve the all core boost above or well the same of the maximum single core boost is a win-win. So I think now manual overclocking is becoming again a thing, and I'm happy about that. So, and honestly, it's very easy to find. You saw, we found more or less the peak in what, 10 minutes. So 4.8 is no go. Okay, 4.7. You set 4.7 with a good amount of voltage. Then to be sure you raised just a little bit the voltage, and you're fine 24/7. So, but most important, the memory, because now we saw that this CPU is a beast, but keep in mind that I test this CPU with the XMP profile, and for me the XMP profile is pretty crappy, so I'm almost sure that we can gain at least 15% only by tuning the memory. Yes, I saw that for the Dark Hero, but again, it's a nice feature. I'm really excited to try it, but who cares if I can set the all core to above the boost. It was a nice feature to have on the previous generations then. Now, if I can do overclock all core more than the single core boost, who care about the single core boost? No, follow me? Yeah, this is pretty impressive. Okay, little one, back to bed. This is a nice chip, really. I think this is probably now what was the 3600. I think is the best buy. It's the cheapest, but yet very powerful. Sorry, I'm not showing you anything, at least you see something. So you can see how much or too much thermal paste I put on the CPU. You know, for testing and joking, this is more than okay. So now we are going to do this test, but I think before going to bed I'm going to try to push a bit with the phase change cooler, this CPU, just to see this 8 core, how it can do, because I think this Zen 3 already beat Intel, so the Zen 3 at like with an AEO beat subscore of Intel with LN2. This is crazy. In chat. All right. I don't try again the FCLK, since we clearly saw that the limit is the BIOS, so it's almost useless to try that again. So I'm not going to waste any more time on this. I really hope for a new BIOS, since I think it's probably that the one that was limiting us. A pity, because this is already a monster. If we compare it with some really nice and fast memory tuning, it will be even more monster. So, tomorrow, with some patience, I will prepare a very nice profile with this kit or a better one that I have, and next live will be more about fine-tuning or benchmarking with some real memory profile. And we can do as well the same World of Warcraft test and see how much game we have. But probably I make like an offline video about that when I do memory scaling. So I love to do memory scaling, since it's very important to see if it's the primary timing, the one that matters, the secondary timing, the pure frequency, a mix of both. So sometimes games have a priority in FCLK, sometimes in latency with the primary timings, but generally a good tuning overall is always the best. Okay, so 5800X. Let's try the AIDA frequency, the latency test. I saw 4.8, that is nice. Sorry, write me on the chat if I don't put the right screen mode. Okay, so here we saw 4.84. I'm at default. So we already going 4.8, 4.9 single core boost. So here now it started to be a bit more difficult to match. You know, the 5600X was easier, since 4.6, 4.7 was the default. Now we're talking about 4.8, 4.9. So here start making less sense manual overclocking. Okay, so nothing new, 61.8, okay, it's more or less the same. So I'm not expecting in games a big difference, but it was expected, since there's only 2 core more than the previous one. Okay, so let's try some manual overclocking here. I'll first Cinebench 15 at default, just to see. Okay, I have to update. I have to update the AIDA, since this is a very old version. But anyway, who cares now? So I'm going to do an R15 now at default. I reboot with manual OC, and we see how far we can go. This is default, so stock. So 4.5 more or less at constant 1.32. I think I can do much better than that. Okay, so keep in mind that 2589. That is impressive. That is really impressive. This is very impressive, so okay, manual C. And then if you want, we can try with the phase change to overclock at like I don't know, 5.5 gigahertz. No, I don't think, maybe too much. 5.2, 5.3, and see if we can scale in World of Warcraft. Just to do a bit of fun before going to bed, since here is like 2 in the morning and I'm kinda wasted. Okay, so okay, so let's see if we can reach again 4.7, 4.8. In theory, this should be better binned, in theory. But who knows? Okay, so now I'm going to go very fast just to see if we have a good sample or not. Okay. I think we can go, okay, like this. I'm pretty sure that 4.7 is okay. Hopefully. Now I hear the pump, bastard. I think I have to check it. Sometimes it fails. Gold full game? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe I can check it out. Okay, so big gain. 4.7 is definitely okay. I'm hoping like 4.9 or 4.8 at least. This is the 5800X, so I'm much hotter. I don't know, let's see. Well, you have 2 core more, so it should be. Okay, does it run hotter? I don't think so. Seems not. Let's try the Magic 48. No way. So at 48 we hit a wall. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But no, I think it is not a hot CPU. Not at all. Probably we missed some voltage. But a lot of review, but do you think that was like the reviewer was good? Because really I don't trust much some review, because there are a lot of people out there that they don't know what they're talking about. So, and before, I mean, I have the usual that we know everybody like GN, all that guys that do the thing properly, but some people are just, when I see review with like you know, very very slow memory, I'm kind of like, yeah. Okay, so we hit a wall at 4.8, but I'm not sure, since we didn't get the message for the maximum temperature reached. I would like to try to push a bit the voltage to see if we can get to 4.8, since now it's becoming like a personal challenge to hit 4.8 with this CPU. Okay, is it too hot? Well, no, I don't think so. 77, 78 is not hot at all. I'm at 1.3 volt. No, I don't think it's hot. I saw CPU much hotter than this. Like the Intel when you push too much the voltage. Okay, so up we go. I really want to see 4.8 done. If not, I will take the phase change cooler. We will probably see much better than 48, since the small one that I have, I will use the small one, not the big and noisy one. The small one will do minus 50 degrees. We probably will reach 5.3, 5.4, maybe even more. We can do it, we can do it, we can do it. Apparently we can do it. Okay, so 4.8 Cinebench, 1.3 volts. So we are already doing the extra mile with the volts. But yes, so the maximum temperature with 1.3, 4.8 gigahertz is 80 degrees. 80 degrees is okay. We can risk going a bit more, yes. Since usually when you do a step in voltage, no, okay. 48 is the end of the line for this CPU with this type of cooler, at least. And you know what to do now? Time for some Sub-Zero. Because, you know, when I see, you know, above ambient temperature, it's not for me. I like to see negative and then the temperature. The number is higher the better, but with the negative sign in front of the number. I'm using the EVGA CLC 240. This one. It's a 240. Sometimes it failed, we saw, but it's a nice one. Jokes aside, it's a nice all-in-one. If you saw the video that I published today, I was able to cool a Peltier, a Tech, a thermoelectric cooler that is like 250 watts easily. So if I can cool that thing, is a very powerful AO. So now we go a bit Sub-Zero, because I really am eager to see this 8 core, what can do versus Intel in some benchmark. And I think in gaming we are talking about AMD matching Intel, but in productivity this was a big hit, since I saw benchmark like on air taking over world record of CPU, Intel CPU went with LN2, so this is a big thing. It's very very big news. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is change this AO with something a bit more powerful. So I'm not doing liquid nitrogen, since I would like to test the memory before, and I do a pre-test usually with the phase change, because I don't have much liquid nitrogen left and I want to use it carefully. So I was using this, the EVGA CSC 240. Okay, this is the small beast. It's not the big one, it's the small one. I say the beast song. But the good thing about this one is a single stage. The noise is okay, it's like a fridge, so it's not noisy at all. It's not power hungry. And negative 50 is enough to have fun, a lot of fun. So it's a nice tool to start going sub-zero. So I cannot see people in chat. Are you still alive? Too late? Not too late? Am I boring you? Okay, you're still alive. Well, who is the first time that is seeing this type of cooling in the chat? Usually I use insulation and I protect the motherboard with a lot of insulation, neoprene, diapers, everything. But since I'm going to use it for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes and then I'm going to bed, I'm not using insulation. But usually if you do this kind of madness, it's always good to use a lot of insulation and do the thing properly, since condensation water, if not treated properly in the long run, can kill the motherboard. So be careful if you decide to go extreme, since if you know what you're doing, it's safe. If you don't know what you're doing, you risk to break everything badly. So just be careful if you do this kind of stuff. So let me read the chat. The right prism with the 5800X? Yes. Yes, because the clip is the same as the 2700X, 3800X. The right prism is a nice heatsink. Since I think it's Cooler Master, maybe, but it's a heat pipe and you have a lot of power. So for being a stock cooler, is a very nice stock cooler. Let's see in the chat. So my first impression of the CPU that I tried tonight. Well, honestly, I'm surprised how easy it is to reach the boost clock. So we hit 4.7 with the 56, we hit 4.8 with the 58, and well, what was that? 4.7 as well with the 5950X, but it's a 32 threads, so it's very nice. Well, positive. I mean, AMD did a good thing. They work a lot, they had really bad times at the beginning, but it seems that the Zen architecture is a success. After some refinement, of course, but at the end, I think they won. Okay, time to fire it up. Now I have this one so you can see the temperature. I don't think you will notice much noise since this is very quiet. Okay, I think you can see it correctly. This thing is like a fridge. Imagine your fridge. Without having something inside, all the cooling power of the fridge, because it's the same system, a compressor, all the cooling power of a fridge redirected here. So this is like more like an industrial fridge, a big fridge, that one for the fishmonger, like no, a big fridge. All the cooling power is directed, concentrated into the CPU. So this is a big fridge, since you cannot see here the thing, but it's a box that I have here, and it's that big. It's like 40 kilo. It's big. Well, I will make. I think I did a video about that. So check on my previous video, and I make a dedicated video about this unit, this specific unit that I'm using right now. So I open the unit, you can see the compressor and how it works. So yes, check my other videos, and there's a dedicated video about this unit. Okay, now the system is telling me that I have no fan, and since I don't need a fan, I have to tell the system that, system, you're wrong, I don't need a fan. Fan is overrated. So ignore it. And now I'm going to turn on the thing. So here, it's not noisy. You can hear it clearly, but it's like a big fridge. Over there I have a cascade. A cascade unit is like two of these in cascade. And that beast is noisy, very noisy. But this is okay. So now we are at 52 degrees, 53. We are going down quickly. You will see. Stock cooler performance. The 58. So the 5800X. There's no stock cooler. Just there's not. The only stock cooler is in the small one. But Ryzen 7, Ryzen 9, no stock cooler. And while the system is going down with the temperature, let's talk a bit. So this is the stock cooler of the 5600X, but I think is okay. We have to wait a bit since but we are having a lot of temperature, so let's cool it down a bit. So the stock cooler of the 5600X, what is called the Spire? No, it's not the Spire. It's the Stealth. So look at that. It's the Stealth. It's the super tiny one. No wonder. The super tiny is because this CPU is very cold, so it's not power hungry. That's why they put a cooler this thing. Well, if you missed the 5600, just look at the replay tomorrow. So tomorrow this video will be live as form as a replay, and you will see that. But don't worry, I will make a lot of content, World of Warcraft. ride, dungeon, battleground, you will see a lot of stuff. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because in the next month you will get tired of seeing me here, because I'm going to make a lot of content about it. So the stock cooler is only in the Ryzen 5 and it's small, so it means that it's very easy to cool down. Yep. So now I still need a bit of time to make this thing pump the gas. So basically it's just about pumping the gas and changing the state from gas to liquid and in a cycle. And well, we will have minus 50 degrees, and at minus 50 degrees you can have a lot of fun and play World of Warcraft maybe at 5.5, even more. So we will see. So we can see if we can break by much the 200 and something FPS. Yeah, the noise is okay. So you're disappointed by the 5800X? Well, I'm not disappointed. Maybe I was hoping 4.9, something like this. But I mean, it's a lot. It's still a lot. Or maybe I have the worst 5800 in the world. You never knows. But honestly, I'm not disappointed. Since 4.8 maybe is possible for daily use, or 4.7 is still nice. And the IPC is good. I mean, the games was on the CPU. You can run every game, you can do application, multitasking, you can do a lot of stuff. Well, they are pricey now, but they can be pricey since there's a lot of value. And the best thing is you can conserve your previous motherboard. Maybe you can even buy a cheap B450 and run it easy, since they are not so power hungry. This is the first time I use this phase change in this house. So it's been like 2 months since the last time that I have powered it up. So probably we have to wait a bit that the gas cycle inside. Let me read the chat. No, it's just I have the temperature here as well. It's just about waiting until the gas gets compressed, liquefied, and start the cycle. Then it's okay. I will try undervolt, I will try everything. So don't worry that, like I did in the past version of the CPU, I will try literally everything possible to gain performance. Since now I will commit to do some world record if I can, and to break some records. So usually when we push for records, we have to know everything, and we need to know if everything is worth trying or not. So don't worry, I will tell you every secret this architecture will have. Yeah, we have 200 TDP is more than enough. 200 TDP is like I think is 3 times the stock cooler. Probably the 5600X will be good like with a 20 euro, 30 bucks air cooler, like the Cooler Master 212 black. This is a nice one. Every Noctua, an AEO even better. New BIOS are going to have feature of undervolt. Yes, but honestly today I tried to undervolt a bit the 5950X, but I didn't see much of a gain, so I don't know if this undervolting will be a thing, because I saw a decrease in performance. Maybe the that undervolting limit now is tighter than before. Yes, I will test the 5600 with a good air cooler, even a bad air cooler. So now I think if I have the time, I will test everything. This CPU with a bad air cooler, with a good air cooler, with a nice AO, with a liquid nitrogen, I will test everything, don't worry. Yes, I saw the tweet of Robert Alloc, and I'm curious to see what we are going to do, but you know what, I'm a bit cautious, because last time they say, yes, with the auto OC feature, you will have a boost like 200 MHz more. Did we see that working? No, zero. It worked a bit for the 3600, that was boosting up to 4.4, but for a limited amount of time that they rewrite the BIOS. So, well, I'm a bit careful to listen to what marketing said, because sometimes they announce something is super cool, but at the end it's not working. So I'm cautious. It's already a good product. Well, the good thing that of AMD is that they have a good product that is already good, so you don't say anything else, like, you know. But they say they keep going. Yes, plus I have this feature that is even better, but it's not working. So just why didn't they just stop before that? Everything was fine and everyone was happy, but then they announce a new feature and everybody expects the new feature, and then no, the new feature doesn't work. It's like, eh. What do you think about the build I sent? Let me check a bit. Okay, Vengeance, RGB Pro. No, Vengeance. Avoid Vengeance. I hate Vengeance. I have a kit there, but it's not a Pro, but it's a Vengeance. But 3200 MHz C16 is usually a bad bin. Hynix AFR, Hynix MFR. So no, avoid that. Go ballistic, literally. Ballistic, like, you know, the crucial ballistic. Probably you will save money, and you have a kit that can go easily to 4000 MHz, even like a 3200 C16, but ballistic. If you go like Vengeance, water brand, maybe you are lucky you have a good Micron or good BDI, but I don't think so. Or probably you have like a Hynix F, Hynix M or A, so it's hard. Then okay, Samsung 97 Evo is fine, Barracuda okay, the Cougar I don't know that, but probably fine because the CPU is okay. The BF550 okay, so the Cooler Master 708 okay. So you have a good configuration, but please avoid the Vengeance. Really, if you want a good RAM, go ballistic. With the ballistic, every model can go almost surely for 3800 MHz with a decent subtimings and very easy to tweak, even 32GB kit. So because usually the Vengeance, if you're lucky, you have good chips inside, but with the model that is like 3200 MHz, 3400 MHz, 3600 MHz, they are not very well binned, and if you are not lucky, let's say if you are unlucky, you have a kit that stays at 3200 MHz, and then you see your friend with the ballistic that goes up the way up to 4000 MHz, and you see, what, why? I have the same kit that costs the same, but I'm stuck to 3200 MHz, and you can go to 4000 MHz. So if you chose wisely the memory and you are willing to overclock, you can find really nice chip out there that allows you to do great thing. But if you don't buy the right kit of memory, you will have some, regrets. But I will make a video about good memory, bad memory, average memory, expensive memory, since I'm full of memory. Take a look. So. on this side here, so I'm going to test a lot of, let's say this is DDR3, but this is all DDR4. So I'm going to test not everything, but a lot. So this is the off, this is a nice kit, by the way. So expect a big memory guide. Because memory is very, very important, and most people forget how important is a good memory configuration. So sorry for the waiting, but the first time usually you, after a while that is not being using, it takes a lot. So the temperature is going down, but you have to wait a bit. The ballistic max, yes, I got contacted by Crucial. Maybe they will send me a sample, I don't know. So let's see if I can get a sample for them. It's better since I don't have to pay for it, but I would, even if they don't send me that, I will buy that kit anyway. So I would like to try the ballistic max 4.4 gigahertz since it's a nice one, but I mean I can probably stick with this one. This is a nice kit. This is the two white stick is 216 each, so it's a 32 gigabyte kit, 3600 megahertz, and this can go up the way to 4000 without any issue. And I think I paid like $100 or 110 or even less. I don't remember, but it was cheap, and it's a nice kit. So you don't need to buy the expensive BDI kit to overclock it. You can buy a ballistic that it can be cheap in some store, and you go all the way up to 4000. This thing is going to be slow. The compression is running, so I guess we just have to wait a bit. Sorry to make you waiting, but I didn't get time to test it before. Yes, temperature is going down on the inside, so I guess we just have to wait a bit. I read the chat. So Crucial stuff are good. I'm really long time customer of Crucial, and I bought a lot of SSD memory, and maybe I have an issue one time and they fixed the issue in like 3 days. So I shipped everything and they gave me back with a priority shipment. I'm happy with the support. Think that I have an SSD that I think is one of the first they made, so like 10 years ago, or even more, and I'm still using it to do extreme overclocking. So in a very harsh environment, and I have this SSD is like 128 gigabyte or something, and it's still doing perfect after like 10 years. I never had any major issue with Crucial, so, and I bought a lot of products for them. So I can safely say that it's a good brand. Even when the thing go bad and you have to do an RMA, you manage it directly with them. They're fast. The website is easy. So yes, it's a reputable and good brand. So then you can talk about performance all you want, but as a company brand and support, nothing to say. I'm trying to restart it, just in case. This is a bit weird, because usually it takes long after like 2 months that I'm not using it, but this is a bit too much. So I should have tested before, and in case I had to use the cascade, but too bad. I was excited to test this thing on cold. Let's give it a couple of more minutes. Come on, old bastard. Let's see. Sorry for the interruption. The noise is because I pushed him. This bastard sometimes, you know. He's old, I think he's 10 years old. I can understand why. Because 2 months ago it was working perfectly. I have like minus 50 with a 10900K in full load, so it's powerful, but suddenly it seems that it decided not to work anymore. So I'm going to try to restart it, just to be sure. If not, we call it a day, and tomorrow we do liquid nitrogen, so we can go directly with the big guns. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a leak. I hope not, since I like this unit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the motor is not doing so well with the inverter, because I'm using a solar inverter, and sometimes the frequency are not, let's say, accepted. But I can try to plug it with the regular grid. Let me try to connect it to the power grid. So give me just a minute and be back. Almost there. Okay, let's try now. Now I'm plugged directly to the power grid. So, because sometimes those motor doesn't really handle well a solar inverter. Since here I'm running with solar and batteries. So let's see if connected to the power grid will work. Let's give you a minute or two. If not, we call it a day, and tomorrow we do another session. I will prepare some memory profile first, and then I can do liquid nitrogen, so we can try to see if we can beat Intel in some benchmarks. Probably I will try the big one. Yeah, probably it's the gas. It's a pity, but because when I moved from one house to another, I didn't move like kilometers. I think I did. The other house was like 5 minutes by car from here, even less. So it's not that I moved this thing away. So it should not have a leak, but who knows. Let's give it a minute, and then, well, tomorrow, in case tomorrow I tear it down, I check the gas for leaks, and in case I don't know, I will refill it myself, but this is like a fridge, so every fridge have a compressor that compress the gas, turn it into liquid state, and then the process of evaporation cause the evaporator, this thing here, to produce cold, basically. So it changes the state from gas to liquid and vice versa, and doing that it creates, it removes heat, and it creates cold. Simple as that. Yeah, but last time I used this was like 2 months ago, so it's not that I'm not using this for ages. I used it last 2 months ago, so there's no reason not to be working. It's going a bit down now, but probably not as much as I need. Maybe it's because this thing is very long, so maybe this is not cycling properly. Okay, another more minute and then yes, it's basically an air conditioning, but I used it this summer when I had like 40 degrees, so I used this thing in harsh conditions. And if it's not working now, it's because there's an issue. Maybe it's a gas leak. Maybe there's something broken. Too bad. I was really eager to see this CPU on cold. I think I have 10 liters of liquid nitrogen left, not too much, but probably tomorrow we can do something interesting, at least trying to break some record or getting close, so that I can take that as a base and improve in the next week. So I'm planning to do another session tomorrow night, and next week I'm going to recharge liquid nitrogen again, so I think by Tuesday I will have again 50 liters again of liquid nitrogen, or even I can take 30 liters more. So next week I will do another 2 or 3 live where I try to break some record from Intel or from the other guys that are using the Ryzen 3 now. Yes, I think it's a gas problem here, so too bad. Well, I'm going to recharge it, so nothing that cannot be solved. Pity. No, plus now is a bit too late. Well, it's very late. Okay. So yeah, there's something vibrating inside, so I'm going to tear it down completely tomorrow morning and see what happens. Well, that's it. So, well, let's do that. So, okay, let's say to do a quick recap. We tried those 3 CPU. I think I'm impressed because they are nice overclocker. I mean, not as AMD good old times like the Athlon XP, but we can reach the boost clock almost easily. The World of Warcraft performance are quite nice. I want to do rides and everything to check in the detail, and if there's a gap with Intel or vice versa. So because ride is a different beast than Graph on Run. So usually sometimes you see something Graph on Run and in ride is a bit different. So when I want to have my opinion, I want to build my opinion when I can finish everything. So then I will have a correct opinion on this. But yeah, the 5600 is a great chip because it's the cheapest, but you have the gaming performance of the bigger brother, and okay, you have less core, but nowadays with 12 threads, I think it's more than enough for everyone. Who needs 32 threads? Except if you're not a professional, I mean, casual users. If you do Photoshop, even 12 threads are more than enough. I'm doing Photoshop with a MacBook Pro with an i7 and 4-core 8 threads, and it's working perfectly. So, okay, guys. Yeah, I'm getting really tired, and my mind is not as fresh as it should be. Well, that's it. Tomorrow I'm trying to do a good memory setup. So I'm going to do a B-die setup and a Micron Rev E setup. So I'm going to try both the best as I can. So we can try both tomorrow night, or we can just do. I think I want to try some gaming with a good memory profile, some gaming differences between B-die and Micron Rev E in gaming, and then after that we do some liquid nitrogen until I finish all the D-War. So small gaming and memory scaling tuning first, and then liquid nitrogen fun. So this is going to be the agenda for tomorrow. So tomorrow I think I probably will be able to do a bit earlier than tonight. So tonight we did like 11:30, tomorrow maybe 10 or 10:30 maximum, or even, let's see. So, well, okay guys, then I will read the chat carefully, and if you have any comment or something that you want to know about what I'm doing, you can join my Discord server. So I'm always open to give you answer. So come to the Discord server, ping me, send me a private message, I will try to answer. So honestly, I have an answer to everybody. So that's it. Thank you guys for joining me and supporting me. That was fun. Not as fun as I was supposed to be with this one. That was anyway, thing can happen. Okay, thank you guys, have a good night, and see you tomorrow. Bye.